What's up, guys? This is Stephen Malin, music composer for video games, and I'm really excited to talk with you today because I want to share Super Audio Kart 2 by Impact Soundworks. Now, a few years ago, I created a video that I explained my process for creating a custom database for Kontakt of 18,000 plus video game samples from history, all the way from the NES, the GBA, the GameCube, the Wii, Switch, everything in between. And that is a database that I still use to this day. And in order to make that database, I had to use a bunch of old retro gear and retro software. So it was a big process. I probably spent about $1,200 all in, which is actually a crazy discount because I really utilized Black Friday sales. But I tracked down old CD-ROMs, old romplers, samplers, synthesizers, keyboards, everything I could get my hands on. I even went through the process of tracking down old sample libraries and tracked down who now owns them so I could legally obtain all of these samples, the original sounds from all of my favorite video games in history. Because as a game composer, I am regularly asked by game developers to write music in the style of Zelda, Metroid, Super Mario, Pokemon, whatever, Final Fantasy. And the only way I can do that is, well, I like to be inspired by the original sound sources. So when I heard that Impact Soundworks finally released Super Audio Kart 2, which supposedly represents a lot of these consoles from the past that I actively use, I was really excited. And so what I want to share with you here today is, first of all, let's take a look at the actual plugin on the sales page. And this is called Super Audio Kart 2 by Impact Soundworks. Right now, it is officially released, $199 price tag, which honestly, that's incredible for what it offers. And it's boasting that it's, the 8-bit, 16-bit, and 62/64-bit areas of gaming. And honestly, from what I see so far, it's pretty awesome. So it seems to be a representation of modern day emulation of Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Sample Cell, Game Boy Advance, the NES, all these things, right? The SNES, Game Boy. So it's a lot of the old 8-bit stuff from the first Super Audio Kart, but it's also now introducing the 16-bit era with the Super NES, and all the way up to the PlayStation 1 or the PSX and the GBA. So this is really exciting stuff. And so what I wanted to do here today is I want to showcase what is actually inside Super Audio Kart, and I want to do a side-by-side comparison, a shootout between the Impact Soundworks versions and then my authentic versions from the actual software, from the actual hardware. Now, a quick disclaimer here, this is really important. Impact Soundworks has publicly stated that in order to stay within their legal bounds of not invalidating any of the copyright holding of the original sound files, the way that they made their samples is they actually use their own sample library databases. So Impact Soundworks has been around for a while now. They have a lot of sample libraries from the orchestral side all the way to like pianos and solo ethnic instruments. So what they've done is they've technically taken their sample libraries from their current products, and they have downsampled them, they've bit crushed them, and they've run them through a bunch of processing to make them sound like they are from each of these consoles. And so for most people, that is going to be okay. That is actually going to be a huge deal. And if that's you, amazing. For $200, you can get yourself access to sounds that sound like all of these eras, which is amazing. And then we're going to compare that to the authentic sound sources and just kind of see how it holds up. Is this a good deal or not? And so let's do it. Let's jump in. So here is my retro VGM sample database, all for Kontakt. So take a picture of that if you want. You can actually see all the different sound sources from my 18,000 plus samples. So for example, if I go into the EMU right here, you can see that I have kind of a random smattering of Chrono Trigger samples, Final Fantasy VII, Chrono Cross. Go to the EMU Proteus 1, 2, 3, this whole section here, and you can see it's quite a bit, even just right here. Things like Crash Bandicoot, Banjo-Kazooie, Earthbound, Super Metroid, Star Fox 64. So a lot of the N64 and PlayStation 1 era was found here. We have things like Sample Tank, which has a lot of the kind of Wii era, plus even the Game Boy Advance era. A lot of that is here. The Korg, M1, Triton, Wave Station. There's so much stuff found in these, as you can see. And it's quite a lot. One of my favorites is this old CD-ROM, Poke in the Ear with a Sharp Stick, volumes 1 and 2. This is where a lot of the Super Mario 64 and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask samples come from. And the list goes on. There's so much good stuff that you can find in these old samplers and CD-ROMs and old sample libraries. All right, so let's take a look at the Super Audio Cart 2 interface. I like how simple it is because it's just one patch right here, and you can turn it on or off, layer A. And when you click the icon there, you can choose from all the different consoles, and then you have a bunch of filters like category, source, and tags. So for example, let's start with what I'm the most interested in, which is exploring the Super NES. I also want to look at the N64, the Game Boy Advance, and we'll end it up with the PlayStation 1 or the PSX, because to me, those are all the best additions from the original Super Audio Cart. And what's really nice though is they've also now included all of the 8-bit consoles as well, like the Amiga, the Atari 2600, the Commodore 64, the Famicom, the Game Boy, right? These are all the original consoles of the 8-bit era. So I want to focus on the 16 and 32-bit eras. So let's jump into Super Nintendo. So let me think of something that would just perfectly encapsulate the Super Nintendo. I immediately think of Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6. I also think of Donkey Kong Country. Those are pretty common references for people who want to sound like that. And I've done quite a bit of music in that. So here is the acoustic grand piano. Let's actually take a look at what happens when we go inside. So right off the bat, we have full mod wheel control, which changes the vibrato. That's pretty standard. And then we have the pitch bend. We can go up and down. Cool. So the first thing that I would probably do to any of these sounds is I would manipulate the decay and the release to make sure that they are the exact shortness that I want. Old samples like this always have a very short release. Like that. And often we also have a short decay. So it's probably this one right here. There it goes. So it's going to sound much more like a pizzicato. Okay. Pretty solid. Let's check out something else. There's a lot of pianos here. Let me actually try to find something very specific for a side-by-side comparison. So something that comes to mind would be maybe an oboe. So the oboe from Chrono Trigger. Okay, so let's go over here and let's see if we can find something that is similar. So we'll go to oboe and let's go to the... Not as good. Okay. All right, let's focus on a classic. Let's go to some string sounds from the Super Nintendo era. All right, here are the strings from Final Fantasy VI. Great, let's compare that inside Super Audio Cart. Let's see if we can find something. If we go to strings in the category right there, let's see what we got to work with. probably a string ensemble. Let's try maybe this. That's good. Like that, that tremolo. There's a really nice variety here. Okay, let's pick on the pizzicatos then. Okay, and let's go over to something from that. Let's go pizzicato. These are the pitch strings from Donkey Kong Country 1. Cool. So see how dry those are? So whenever we're trying to replicate that, we got to make sure that, going back to the Super Audio Cart, I think they did a really good job, honestly, of taking their strings and sampling them in a way, or, you know, downsampling them to have that same effect. That's awesome. So well done, guys. Let's jump to the N64. Let's go to some of their pianos here. I really want to try to capture the Zelda Ocarina of Time sound. They have a lot of pianos in here. That's really close. That's nice. There we go. That sounds really close. So let me find the original for you guys to compare it to. If I go to my N64, I have that piano. And it is right here. It's called the Piano 16 Foot. This guy. Ah, it's much brighter, isn't it? Now, I should go ahead and reference this. gameaudio Verb is a brand new plugin that Impact Soundworks has released. And so if I go over here to my mixing window, this gameaudio Verb right here, this is really cool. They've now dialed in all these different reverbs that are specific to consoles. So N64, that's awesome. You can actually do it by game. That's amazing. So let's go to not Mario Kart, to Legend of Zelda Oot. That's pretty nice. I'm not really sure what the parameters are for, like how they got to that. But that is pretty cool. Let's just go to something basic. That's way too much in my opinion. There we go. That's nice. It's a nice little addition that we can add on to any of them. But I am trying to just do a raw sound shootout for today. Cool. But they did a great job. Here's the audio cart again. Maybe going to the bright grand will help. Okay, come on, that still gives a lot of the same vibes. And maybe there's another one in here that's closer. Okay, so let's pick on something else from the N64 era. Let's do something that is very Super Mario 64-esque. So maybe we can find an accordion. That usually is found in Mario music. This is a little challenging to try to search because I can't search by specific terms. I just have to use their search functions. So I don't even know where that would be. That is one downside I have to mention here today. I guess I have to go by alphabetical, but it's sorted by, sound source name maybe is probably the best way to go. Accordion, I don't even see it in 64. Come on. I am trying to just show you, there we go, in live time here. It's under the organ category. That's pretty good. I don't love it. And there's only one option. I think we just lost there. But I'm trying to give a real comparison here for you guys to see. So let's go to the French accordion that is used in the Mario games. And that is actually on this patch. It's all up to personal preference, right? It's a matter of, does it sound good to you? And does it have to be the original, or are you okay with it being different, right? Because in a way, you're getting what you pay for, meaning you're getting a collection with Super Audio Kart 2 that these are not the original sounds. These are made to mimic the original sounds, and therefore the cost is way lower than you going and hunting all of these down yourself and doing all the conversion yourself. But yeah, I haven't made up my mind yet. So far, I think it's good, and we're definitely in the right direction. And it definitely achieves what it's going for, which is for everybody to have access to retro type sounds. So far, so good. Let's continue with our research project here. Next up, let's go to Game Boy Advanced. That's one of my favorite consoles, actually. So to have a side-by-side comparison, let's grab something maybe from the Minish Cap, so the Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I always think of woodwinds or pan flutes. That's what I'm going to do. Pan flute is in every GBA game, it feels like. So let's do the pan flute that's used in almost every game. Specifically, in this case, it's used in Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. And then let's compare that to this one. I got to figure out how to find this again. Let's do the sorting by name. And I'm just going to scroll down until I see pan flute. It should be in here. There it is, pan flute. And let's do a little side-by-side comparison. So here's Super Audio Kart. That's pretty good. Okay, now let's compare that to the official one. I'm sorry, there's no comparison. Okay. Sorry, I gave the point to Retro Database. Let's try something else from GBA era. There's a lot of steel drums in these games. All right, now let's find something comparable from Super Audio Kart, Steel Drums, GBA. Come on, I'm rooting for you. I really, really am. There really is so much good stuff in here. I'm totally nitpicking. That's my job, right? Isn't that what reviews are for? Like, real opinions. Steel Drum. Okay, they got one. Oh, it's nice. It sounds different. This is more like Chrono Trigger. Sounds more like a marimba to me, personally. Okay, sorry. Have to give the point for GBA to the Retro Database. Let's try another one. Let's go to the PlayStation 1. Come on, you got this. Now, to me, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, those are the games that kind of defines that generation. As far as the sound goes, with the synths and with the orchestral instruments. So let's see if we can find something that would mimic the Final Fantasy sound. So let's find something very iconic. I think the guitar would be the place to go. So that was the guitar featured in Final Fantasy VII in the battle themes. So let's find something similar. Super Audio Kart. So PlayStation 1. Guitar. Let's see what we got to work with here. These are all guitar. That's nice. Probably distorted. So this might be the winner for this category. Let's see. Distorted guitar. That's nice. Yeah. I feel like that's really going to be one of the winning factors is you get so many different options per category. You're not just stuck with the one sound from that one thing. So I do think that is a big plus going for it. If you need some variety, if you just want to sound like the era, sound like a game without committing to a very specific sound that might feel like you're copying that game. So I can see a lot of validity in wanting something just like this. While we're here for Final Fantasy music, let's do something more orchestral. I'm thinking strings. That's always an iconic type of sound. That's an iconic sound, the Aerith's theme from Final Fantasy VII. So let's see if we can get something comparable. Super Audio Kart 2, so PSX. Let's go to strings, maybe not strings, but orchestral strings. I'm not sure how. There we go, strings. Okay, let's see what we got to work with. It's not bad. That's the closest one. Okay. That's an even match in my mind because, yes, I have the original, but that's one of the only string sounds. There's a couple more from those games. But I think it's actually really nice to have some variety. So I see myself using both, by the way. I don't think it necessarily has to be a one or the other. I think there's a lot of validity in having both to be able to go back and forth. Very cool. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that by tracking down all of these original sound sources, I also came across a host of modern sound sources. So things like from the PS2, bunch of Final Fantasy games, the Wii era, all the Super Mario Galaxies and Mario Kart, the Switch era, all the Zelda games, Mario Kart games. You can probably tell I'm a big Nintendo fan based on my databases, but The point is, I feel like if you're going to become a composer who writes retro music or uses it as an inspirational tool, then I think it is in your best interest to at least consider this idea of tracking down the original sound sources, even though it is very time consuming and it is pretty costly. It may not be something you want to do right away, but something you definitely should consider. So I encourage you to check out my video on that. It's a free video. You can go click the link in the description below to jump into that and watch it. But as far as Super Audio Kart 2 goes, I think it is an amazing entry point for anyone that wants to write retro music, specifically because of just the wide breadth of consoles it has. I think this is a really quick way just to queue up the Game Boy and start playing Game Boy sounds, to queue up the Sega Genesis and start playing those sounds, and etc. as you go through here. And it has a really nice filter system that allows you to jump through and find different sound sources that you're interested in. So I do think it definitely achieves the goal that it sought out to do, which is to represent all these different sounds. However, my only issue with it is it's not the original, right? It's not the original sound source. So I do think there's a world where it's good to have both of these, so that when you get a gig from a game developer who wants you to write in the style of Zelda, you can either go specifically to the Zelda sounds that you already have legally and use those, or maybe you want to use Super Audio Kart and find sounds that are similar, that sound like Zelda from the N64 or sound like Zelda from the Super Nintendo. And I think that there's a lot of validity in both of those camps, and ultimately it's up to you what you want to do with that. As far as cost goes, obviously Super Audio Kart at a $200 price point is significantly lower than tracking all these things down yourself, and you get the convenience of everything is already there. It's already been programmed. It already sounds great out of the box. You can throw the Game Verb plugin on top of it and really dial it in to sound authentic to that era. So I think that is a huge plus as well. So I don't think there's a bad choice here, but do what your heart says and your wallet says. Ultimately, it's kind of what it boils down to. Hopefully this video serves you well and at least opens your mind to the possibilities of what you can do when you start chasing down this rabbit trail. It's a lot of fun and I highly recommend it. So see you guys next time.